Hello YouTube, Sam here from youtube.com/onlivegamer for the new Boston, and in this tutorial we're going to continue working on the favorites viewer. Now before we get started, I just wanted to say, like I do in every single tutorial where I use a program that isn't made by me, all the credit goes to the authors of Beginning Microsoft Visual Basic 2008, and the authors are Theron Willis and Brian Newsom. They created this great program that I'm using to teach you guys some object-oriented programming techniques, and I'm going to explain it to you in a lot of detail, and you don't have to have the book yourself. So if you don't know what you see right here and you don't know what that is, then you may want to move back to one of the previous tutorials. So we'll go ahead and let's create a for each loop that will process each line in our file. So we'll start off by typing for each, and we're going to use string line in string lines. So basically what we're saying is for each of the lines in our array of lines, so we've got our file and we split it up into separate lines. For each line in there, what do we want to do? Well, we want to search for our URL. So we can use a simple if statement. So if string line dot starts with, now this is pretty self-explanatory, determines whether the beginning of the string instance matches the specified string. So if it starts with URL equals, then what do we want to do? We want to set URL equal to string line dot substring at index of 4. So, and if this happens, we just want to exit our for loop because we have found what we're looking for and we don't need to go through the rest of the for loop. So what this does is it checks to see if the line starts with URL or URL equals, and after URL equals, it's going to contain the URL of the website that's our favorite. So what we do is we set URL, which is a public variable, it's a string. We're going to set that equal to the line at substring, and we start at index 4. So we have index 0, 1, 2, 3, and start at index 4. So it's going to set our URL to the URL that we want, and it's going to leave out URL equals right here because we're starting at index 4. Now let's go ahead and we need to read the file or the data that's in the file. I don't know how I forgot this in the last tutorial, but we're going to set string data equal to my.computer.filesystem.readAllText, and we're reading all the text from the file name, which has been passed to this method. So let's just enclose all of this in a try block. So we're going to try, and if for some reason we get an error in here, let's go ahead and catch it. Now we're going to catch an error of type IO exception. So if we get an error reading or writing or something, then it's going to catch that. So whenever we catch that, we'll just show it. So messagebox.show ex.message. Okay, so now that we've created our web favorites class, remember to put this line in right here that I forgot from the previous tutorial, which basically reads the lines, reads all the text of the file into string data. So now what we need to do is we need to continue by creating another class. So we'll come over here to favorites viewer YouTube, we'll right click, and we will add another class. Now let me go ahead and shrink this down. Now this class is going to be called WebFavoriteCollection. Now this is going to hold objects for each of our favorites that have been read from our computer. So what we need to do is type inherits collection base. Now it says provides the abstract base class for a strongly typed collection. So what this means is that it's a collection and we can store a bunch of objects in it. Now we're going to be storing objects of type WebFavorite. Now you saw it said strongly typed collection, and what it means by that is that you can only use a certain type of data in it, and it's whatever you specify. So whenever we inherit from collection base, we need to add some stuff to the class. So we need to add a method called add. So this is going to take an argument, and we'll call it favorite as web favorite. So it's going to be of type web favorite, which is this class that we've created right here. So whenever they add, we want to add the item to the collection. So we'll just type list dot add favorite. Now you may be wondering where we got list from. Well, list is what this class uses to store all of its items or its objects. Because it inherits from collection based, we can use list. So the list in this class is going to store all of our objects. Now we need to create a remove method. So public sub remove, and this is going to take an argument of an index. So we want to remove something at a certain index. So we'll type if index is greater than or equal to 0 and index is less than count. You can see that count gets the number of elements contained in the collection base instance. So if it's less than the number of items in our list, then we can go ahead and remove it. So the list starts at index 0, and then it has a certain count. So if the index isn't outside of these bounds, then we can go ahead and type list dot remove, and this is going to take an argument. So we'll just type index. So now what we need to do is we need to come down below n sub, and we'll type public read-only property. So we're making a read-only property. Now here's something I just realized. The writers of this book have messed up. They took an index for the argument of this, but when they used remove and used an index, and it will never find that, because when it tries to remove, it'll look at that number and be like, well, there's nothing in here with that value, so we're not going to remove it. So we need to use list.remove at index. So we'll create a read-only property called item, and it's going to take an argument by val index as integer. So whenever they access the item property, they're going to have to put an index in as the integer, and it's going to give them back the item at that index. And we want to make it of type web favorite, because this collection holds a whole bunch of web favorite objects. So what we want to do is we want to give them back an item from our collection or our list based on what its index is. So we want to return, and we want to use ctype because we're going to be converting object types. So we'll type list dot item at index, and we want to convert that to type web favorite. So what it does is it's going to return a value, and it's going to take the value in our list, which is our collection that we have for this class, at the item at the index of the index that they gave us. So let's say we've got a web favorite at index of 5, and it's equal to YouTube. So it's going to get the item at index of 5, and it's going to be YouTube, and it's going to convert that to type web favorite. Now because it's already a web favorite, we will have no problems with converting it to web favorite, and it'll work just fine. So go ahead, put this code in if you haven't. If you're confused with anything, leave it in the comments. Maybe somebody will be able to help you. I might even be able to monitor the comments and see if people need help. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next tutorial.